Everybody who wants to watch the live stream on YouTube, you can do so at the following link. Let me just grab it. It's over here. And I'm pasting the link to everybody in chat now. Okay, so let's get started. So this workshop is the fifth. It says fifth here, but this is actually the sixth class for Intro to Python Programming. During our last workshop, we learned about a few programming concepts through Python, including the following. We learned about conditions. Conditions are used in programs to determine a program's course of action. They rely on the evaluation of Boolean statements to determine if certain instructions are performed or not. Okay, so we've got a variable password and this if statement. If the password is equal to my secret password, then we're going to print password correct, or else we're going to print password incorrect. So it's checking this statement to see if it's true or not. If it's true, it does one action. If it's not true, it does another action. And we also learned about programming loops. Loops are tools that programmers use to run the same instruction multiple times. So if we have so loops can either run a preset number of times before terminating, or iterate through all items in a list or string in the case of for loops. So there's two types of loops. There's a for loop, or run continuously until a predetermined trigger state is achieved in the case of while loops. All right, and we've got our while loop over here, and here it says while the count is less than 3, then it's going to keep on running these instructions. So in this workshop, we're only going to cover one topic in today's workshop because it's kind of an important topic inside of programming, and that's functions. All right, so programming functions are defined instructions that can be used multiple times in the same code. So here we've got a function, and actually the print is a function inside of Python that we've been using a lot. So you know that something is a function because there's the name of the function, and then there's a pair of parentheses, and then if there's anything that we need to provide to the function, we have to put it inside of the parentheses. So if a specific set of instructions needs to be run multiple times in the same code, it is more efficient to create a function out of those instructions rather than input the same instructions again. In fact, we've been making use of the most common Python function this whole time, the print function. Any arguments that the function requires to execute properly, if any, are provided inside the parentheses when calling or running the function. So when you use a function inside of Python, we can refer to it as calling the function, running the function, or executing the function. Any of these words, they all mean the same thing, which is to have the function do something. Okay, so to create a function, we're going to start with def. So this section is talking about how we create functions. To create a function, we start with def, then the name of the function, then a pair of parentheses with any arguments required inside the parentheses, then a colon. So this first line of creating a function is the start of a code block, which means that any instructions inside of the function have to be indented. Indented means that you have to leave a space. So since the function is a code block, on the next line, indent 4 spaces, then input the function's instructions. If the instructions span multiple lines, each line must be indented. Any argument variables should be included in the instructions. So everybody, let's give this a go. Let's create our first function. Okay, so we're going to use the onlinepython.com website to write up our function, and I'll provide the link to that in the chat. So just keep in mind that when you load up this page, it's going to have some code already here. what we need to do is highlight that code and delete it. Okay, and we're going to create a function now. All right, so to create a function, we start with the def keyword. That stands for define. And then I'm going to call this greetings. So the name of the function is going to be greetings. And after you put the name of the function, we need to put some parentheses over here. And then we need to include any arguments. We need the function to work inside of the parentheses. So for the greetings function, we're going to provide a name. So the name is going to be a string, and we're just going to call this name inside of the function definition. And then after the colon, we're going to go to the new line. And so the great thing about this website is that it's going to insert the indent for us, but otherwise we'd have to put the indent there ourselves. Okay. All right, so on the next line, what we're going to do is we're going to just do a print function. And we're going to do a print function with an f string, and it's going to be hello name, just like this. Okay, so I think let me think if this is the right way to do this. Okay, I think this will work. Let me try running this. So in order to run the function, it's going to be greetings, the name of the function, along with, so I'm going to do the shy hat, that's my name, and we're going to run this. Hopefully this works, but I might have to debug this. So this says invalid syntax. Okay, so I guess name is going to be like this. Okay, so the name when you do the definition is going to be not inside of it's not going to be a string, but this over here is going to be the same. And when you do the function call, you're going to provide the name inside of quotes like this. Okay, so let's try this out. So this is just a very simple function. It's going to print hello name, and when you call the function, you have to supply the name over here. All right, so everybody, I want you to try. I want you to okay, so everybody, I want you to try writing this function over here. So def and then greetings, and then inside the parentheses, put the variable name, and then the colon, and then press enter. On the next line, you're going to do print, and then an F string, and it's going to be hello, and then name inside of these curly braces. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to do the function call, which is greetings, and then inside the parentheses in a string, you want to put some name, okay? All right, and then when you run this, it should say hello, and then the name that you put in, like this. All right, so everybody try defining the function and then running the function, just like over here. Let me make this a little bigger so that you can better look at it. If you have any problems, let me know. But if you're able to run this successfully and you get the hello message over here, please type in the chat greetings. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. I see some people have managed to successfully write this function here. So here our example function is defined, then the function is called with the corresponding output shown thereafter, okay? So in this case, we've got my greeting and then name as the argument, okay? Put the colon here. On the next line, we're going to indent, and then we're going to give the instructions. So the instruction here is just print greetings, and then the string. This is a different way of putting variable names inside of the string. You don't need to pay too much attention to this other way of coding this. You just need to know that this code puts the name inside of the string. Okay, next we're going to talk about the return statement. So return is an instruction that can be used in functions. When used, return is going to store the value specified, but it doesn't print out to the console. So this function over here is a sales tax calculator, and I know that sounds very exciting to be able to calculate sales tax. But these are some common things that we use programming for. We use them to do math. So let's try writing out this this function right here. So over in the online Python, we're going to, we can recycle most of this. Well, we can recycle some of this. So it's let's see, tax underscore calc, and then inside of here it's going to be amount. So the name of the function is tax underscore calc, and then inside of the parentheses we're going to put amount for the amount that we're going to multiply for the tax. And then on the next line, remember we have to put a colon over here, but on the next line we're going to do let's see, total equals amount, and then we're going to multiply it by something. We're going to say that the user P says that they don't have the link. Let me grab the link and provide that to you. Okay. So the total is going to be amount times maybe 1.15. So 1.15 is 15%. And then on the next line, we're going to return the total. So this means we're going to record the total, which is the amount that's multiplied by 1.15. So interestingly enough, if we just run this, so tax calc, and then we give it a number, and let's just say, let's just give it an even 100. Then when we run this function, it's not going to show anything because the function returns something. That doesn't mean that it prints it. So if we wanted to print what the function actually returned, we have to put this inside a print statement, print function. So we're going to do print, and then we're going to wrap this. So what we're going to do is we're going to print the result of tax calc 100, and then this should print something to the console. Okay, so let's hit run after this, and then this is the result over here. So this looks a little bit wonky. The thing is that Python Python sometimes does weird things with decimals. It doesn't exactly round them all the way up, but that's something we can talk about another time. So everybody, what I want you to do is I want you to try writing this program right here. So this one is a function called tax_calc. And then inside the parentheses, we're going to put amount and then a colon. On the next line, we're going to define. Somebody says in the YouTube chat that they don't have the Python link. Let me grab the Python link, and I'm going to put the Python link in the chat. Okay, so everybody, let's try running this program. So on the next line, total equals amount, and then star. Star means multiply, 1.15. And so this is just setting what we're going to set for the tax. In this case, it's 15%. And then on the final line, we're going to return the total. So we're going to return the variable, which is the total. And then we're going to give a couple spaces, and then we're going to print the result of tax calc, this function call, with 100 as the amount. Okay? So after you click on run, you should get 114.9999. What this should do is it should round up to 115, but I don't know exactly why it ends up like this. But if you manage to successfully run this program, okay, please type in the chat tax calculator. Okay, somebody's asking to start to demonstrate from the start that they're lost. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate really quickly one more time. So what we're doing right now is we're writing functions. So functions are little programs are little programs basically, and they're programs that you can run over and over again. So to create the function, we have to use def at the beginning, and then we need to do a space and then the name of the function. In this case, the name of the function is tax_calc for tax calculator, and then a pair of parentheses and the name of any arguments, any information we need to run the function inside of the parentheses. In this case, we have an amount. And then finally, on the first line, we're going to provide a colon, and that's going to indicate that this is a code block. And on the next line, we have to make sure that we have a space. So in this case, it's 4 spaces. And then we're going to start our instructions for the function. In the calculator's case, we need to create a variable called total. And total is going to be equal to the amount that is provided. And then we're going to multiply it by 1.15. And then on the final line over here, we're going to return the total. So return means to store something. Return means store something. So return means store the total. But when you do return, that doesn't mean that it's going to be printed. So what we need to do is we need to use the print instruction, the print function, along with the tax calc function. Okay, user CT says if you replace the print line with this, it will round it off. Okay, so you can use the round function with the tax calc function, and it's going to round it off. That's right. But in our case, we just want to keep the instructions very simple. But of course, you can use that extra function as well. So the final thing is to print the result of the tax calc function with the amount 100, and that's going to give you this total right here. User CT says that you can use the round function as well. This is another function that we're doing. So we can do round, and then we can wrap this up in more parentheses, and then run this again. And then it's going to give us the even number 115. But thank you very much, user CT, for pointing that out. All right. So If you're still a little bit lost, that's fine. We're going to be doing more examples, so hopefully you can pick it up. You can pick it up along the way. So the return portion of the function is useful for passing values to other parts of the program, but it won't output to the console unless we use the print function with it. So if we use the sales tax calculator by itself, it's not going to print out, but if we use the print along with it, then we're going to get the result printed. So setting variables inside of functions. So this is a very important thing to understand how functions work. So by default, if a function uses a variable which exists outside of the function, any modification to the value of the function is going to revert after the function finishes execution. So if we've got a name, John, so John is outside of the function. So there's just this variable name and it's set to John, and then we write the function. So the function in this case is called name underscore set, and then there's this new name as the argument. And it's going to set name equal to new name. So whatever you set as the new name, it's going to set the name variable to that. And then it's going to print the name. So if we do name set, we run this function and we set name equal to Betty, and then we print the name, then which one is going to print? Is it going to be John or is it going to be Betty? Can you predict that? If you know the answer, type it in chat. So name starts off as John, but this function right here is going to set a new name, and then we run the function with the name Betty. When we print out the name variable after this is run, what is the name going to be? Okay, so user WW says John, user CT says Betty. Okay, so the reality here is that if a function uses a variable that exists outside of the function, so this doesn't exist, this name variable exists outside the function, then after the function finishes, then this is going to revert. It's going to change back. So it's going to print out John and not Betty. Okay, so let's try this out real quick. Okay, so I'm going to let me just copy this, and I'll demonstrate inside of Online Python. Okay, so we've got name equals John, and then we make this. Let me clean this up a little bit. So this is the function, this is the variable, and this is the name being set by this function here. So when we print the name, okay, first it's going to do Betty, and then it's going to do John. So inside of the name set, it's going to print the name. So if you set it to Betty first, hold on. Inside of name set, there's a print instruction. So it's going to print the name. First, it prints out Betty because we set it as Betty inside of the function. But then after the function call is over, when we print the name, we see that it's reverted back to John. So first it's Betty, then it's John. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this a little later. So in fact, any variables created inside of functions are not accessible by the rest of the code. The above code results in the error, name pynum is not defined. Okay, so in this case, we have a function called pynumber. So the pynumber is equal to, we're going to set a variable in here, pynumber, which is equal to 3.14, and then we're going to return. When we run pynumber, we expect that a variable that's called pynumber is set up. But if we were to print pynumber, if we were to print this variable after this function finishes executing, then we're going to see that there's no such variable called pi number because it only exists inside of the function. So let's demonstrate this really quick. Okay, so if we run this code right here, so first we define pi number, and all this does is it creates a variable called pi number, and then we're to run this function, and then we were to try to print out pi number then. So it says name pinum is not defined because pinum only exists inside of the function. Okay. All right. So let's continue. So functions with parameters. So functions can be written with parameters which are used inside of the function's code block. So this is a very simple multi-parameter function over here, and this is called add two numbers. So we've got add two numbers, and we put two parameters A and B. So parameters and arguments, sometimes we can use them interchangeably. It just means that something that's required in order to run the function. So all this does is it's going to return A plus B. It's going to do math on these two numbers. So then we're going to create a variable called x, and x is equal to the add two numbers function with the numbers 1 and 2. So what do you think is going to print when we print x? So everybody think a little bit about this code, this and what this function does. And then when we print the x variable, what do you think is going to print? Let us know in the chat. Okay, so we can demonstrate what exactly happens here. We're just going to copy this and demonstrate with the. So user ww says 1 and then 2. Okay, so what this does, because the add two numbers function, it adds the two numbers together. So 1 is added to 2, and that result is going to be printed when we print x. So inside of here, when we run this code, it's just going to print 3 because, so add two numbers takes two parameters, A and B, and then it's going to return A plus B. So when we add two numbers, the A and the B are 1 and 2. So it's just going to add these two numbers. So when we print x, which is equal to this function call with 1 and 2, it's just going to print 3. Okay. All right. So let's continue. So functions with default parameters. Functions can also be written with default parameters, which are substituted in if the function is called without specifying that parameter. So let's see. So let's try out this code right here. So if you like, you could try. Well, these code lines are a bit long, but if you want to try typing out these code lines inside of your online Python, you can go ahead and try that. But what does this function do? So this function is called greet user, and there is first name. This is a parameter. First name equals John, and last name equals Doe. These are the two parameters, first name and last name. And then we've got our colon over here, which means that it's a code block. On the next line, we indent, So sometimes you can indent with 2 spaces, and sometimes you can indent with 4 spaces. It doesn't really matter how you indent. It just matters that all the indent spaces are the same spaces. So we've got the same number of spaces, rather. So we've got this greet user with last name equals Smith, and then we've got greet user without any parameters. So if we do the first one, then the last name is going to be Smith. But the first name is going to be John because we didn't specify a first name. And then when we do the second greet user, we don't indicate the last name or the first name, so it's going to default to the ones that are here when we defined the function. So the first print is going to be John Smith, and the second print is going to be John Doe. Okay, so let's run this. So it says hello John Smith and then hello John Doe. And this is us talking about default parameters inside of functions. Okay, so let's do a little quiz. What is going to print to the console? So we've got add numbers A and B, and the instructions are return A plus B. And then we do a function call for add numbers 2 and 3. What is going to be returned? What's going to print to the console? The number 5. There's a syntax error in the code, B, or C, nothing will be printed to the console. Okay, if you know, please type in the chat which number you think it is. Okay, we've got some answers coming in. Okay, so the answer in this case is C. Nothing will be printed to the console. So we did the function call, add number 2 and 3, but inside of the function there's no print function. And when we did the function call, we didn't use a print function either, so nothing is going to print. But this actually does return the number 5, but it's not printed. Is the issue here? So good eye, user WW. Okay, we've got question number 2. What will print to the console? My number is equal to 7. And then we've got a number set function over here, which takes a number as a argument. And then it's going to set the my number equal to the whatever is provided in the argument. And then we run this number set with 14, and then we print my number. So what is going to be printed when we try to print my number? Is it going to be the number 7 or the number 14? A or B? Okay, we've got some answers coming in. Okay, the answer in this case is the number 7. So remember when we talked about how anything that's so if there's a variable outside of a function and then it's modified inside of a function, that it doesn't the changes to the variable are not they don't stay persistent after the function finishes running. So if we were to print out my number, then 7 is going to print because the changes that we make inside of the function, they don't persist. Okay, so number 3. In Python, what does it mean to call a function? Choose 2 of the following 4 options. Okay, A, to define a function and its parameters. B, to execute code within a function. C, to communicate with the function by phone. Or D, to invoke a function by using its name followed by parentheses. So there's two answers here that are correct. Which two answers are the definition of what it means to call a function inside of Python? Okay, we've got a couple of people answering, and it looks like you have it correct. So the correct meaning of calling a function is to execute the code within a function and to invoke a function by using its name followed by the parentheses. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of exercises over at PicoCTF, and these exercises have to do with functions. So they're going to help us understand a little bit more about using functions instead of Python. Okay. So everybody over at your PicoCTF, first we're going to solve the serpentine challenge. Hold on. Let me just get that. Serpentine. Okay, so I'm going to provide the link to that in chat. So this is the Serpentine challenge inside of PicoCTF. Once you're finished logging into the PicoCTF webpage, I want you to open up your web shell. So you can open up your web shell by clicking on this button right here. And then after you click on it, you need to click on this button right here, which is labeled Pop Out Web Shell Terminal. Okay, so after you click on that, then the web shell is going to be in its own browser pane. And then we need to enter your PicoCTF username. It's my username. This is my username. Please use your own username, please. Okay, then you have to provide the password. So I'm going to copy my password from my password manager program. And then I'm going to provide the password by pasting it in. So I'm going to right-click paste and then press enter. Okay, so to the user in the YouTube chat, if you want me to explain this, I can go over this. I can go over any problems you had with the session after the session is over. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a directory for this challenge. So we're going to mkdir space serpentine like this. User LC, no problem, no problem. I understand that that you have to join late, and yeah, if you have any problems, we're just doing our challenges for today. You can go ahead and join us over at PicoCTF. So it is this challenge right here. Okay, somebody's asking me to repeat A and B from the previous quiz. A and B for the previous quiz. So I'm not too sure what you're talking about in this case, user in the YouTube stream, but well, let's talk about it after the session is over, okay? All right, so what we're doing. Okay, so inside of the web shell, we're going to make the directory for this. It's mkdir serpentine, and then enter that directory with the cd command, cd space serpentine. Okay, if you do pwd and you're in the serpentine directory, please type in the chat, ready to roll. If you need a little bit more time, let us know. You can let us know in the chat as well, and we'll try to wait a little bit. Okay, Somebody says that they need a little more time. That's fine. Hopefully you can catch up. We'll try to go a little slower. What we're going to do first is we're just going to download the files, and we'll try going over those instructions a little more slowly. Okay. So after you're in the Serpentine directory, you need to go over to your challenge page, and it says find the flag in the Python script. So all we need to do here is we need to download the Python script. So it's going to be highlight the link and then right click and then select copy link address. So after you copy the link address, we need to go back to the web shell, and then we're going to use the wget command to download the file. So it's going to be wget space, and then we need to right click and then select paste and then press enter. And that's going to download the file. So after the file is downloaded, when you do the ls command, you should see the serpentine.py file in here. Okay. So serpentine.py. So does anybody know what command would we do to run this file inside of the web shell? What command would we do to run this file right here, serpentine.py? Okay. User ww and user lc say that you run it with Python, and that is correct. So these .py files, you're going to run them with the Python program, which is Python, and then space, and then the name of the file. So let's run this, serpentine.py. Okay. When you run this, you're going to see this snake over here, and then it says, welcome to the Serpentine Encourager. So they've got three options here in this program: print encouragement, B, print flag, A, print encouragement, B, quit flag, print flag, and C, quit. So you can choose what to do and then press enter. So let's do A, print encouragement. So it says, look how far you've come. Okay, great, that's encouraging. Okay, and we try to do the B option over here, which is print flag. And then it says, oops, I must have misplaced the print flag function. Check my source code. All right. So what we need to do is we need to check the source code of this file right here. So we're going to do option C, which is quit. Okay. So does anybody know what, so how we could edit the file? How do we edit the file inside of Linux? Inside of Linux to try to edit the serpentine.py file. So right, okay, we've got a couple of users who have used this before. So we're going to use the nano text editor to edit the file. So what we're going to do is nano and then the name of the file, which is serpentine.py. Okay, so nano space serpentine.py. So this is actually a pretty complicated file. So after you do nano, then we're going to see the code for this particular script. Okay, so user TL in the YouTube chat, it says they're not sending the verification code. So the verification code, I think you're talking about the email. So user TL on YouTube, what you need to do is you need to go to the email that you use to register your PicoCTF account, and you need to click on the verification email in your inbox in your email. Okay. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to go down, and inside of the code, you'll notice that they have a function here called print flag, and the print flag function, the final instruction is to print the flag. So we know that this function over here exists, and it's called print_flag with no arguments. And we've got a print encouragement. We've got a print encouragement function as well. So we've got our choices over here. We've got our A choice, our B choice, and our C choice. So you can see that the B choice here says print, oops, I must have misplaced the print flag function. Check my source code. So what we really want to do is we want to choose the B choice. We want to change the B choice. So under the B choice, it says print. What we need to do is we need to delete this entire line. So just use your arrow keys to navigate to the print line right there and delete everything in here. And does anybody know what we should replace this line with? What should we replace this line with? People in chat, if you know, let us know in the chat what we should put over here for the B choice. Okay, so user WW says, should we put the flag in there? So we're not necessarily going to print the flag. What we're going to do is we're going to run the function that prints the flag. So remember, there's a print underscore flag function. So we're going to put that in here, okay? So under the B choice, we're going to do print underscore flag, and then we're going to give it these empty parentheses right here. So that is a function call. So we're going to run the function print flag, and that's going to print the flag. So after you've modified the text under choice B with print underscore flag with the parentheses, you need to save this. So we're going to do Control X, and then it's going to ask us if you want to save the modified buffer. Press Y for yes, and then press Enter to confirm. So now what we can do is we can rerun the serpentine.py script. So Python serpentine.py, and then run the code. Welcome to the Serpentine Encourager. We've replaced the B option with the print flag function, so we can just do option B, and then we get the flag, because option B runs the function call for print underscore flag. So we can just copy this, and then go over to the challenge page and paste in the flag, and then click on Submit Flag. And then you're done. All right, everybody. So if you managed to finish that challenge, please type in the chat print flag function. Okay, so we've got a couple of users. We've got a user who did not finish it. So why don't we talk after the session is over, and I'll try to help you out, and we can finish that challenge. So we have one more challenge to do today. And that function, that challenge is the inspect HTML challenge. Okay, so let me grab this link and provide it to everybody in chat. So this challenge is the inspect HTML challenge. So this is a web exploitation challenge. So this is a web app hacking challenge, and we would normally solve this using the web browser, but we're not going to solve it using the web browser today. What we're going to do is we're going to write a custom Python script to solve this challenge, to solve this challenge without using the web browser. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go back to our web shell, and then we're going to go back to our home directory with CD by itself. And then we're going to create the directory mkdir inspect HTML. So I already have this, so this directory already exists for me.
So I'm going to do inspect_HTML. So inspect_HTML, and then we're going to enter the directory. Whoops, I need to spell that properly. Okay. So everybody, after you've created the inspect.html directory, enter it. And when you do pwd and you see inspect.html, that's the directory we're in, please let us know ready to inspect. Okay, so user LC, I can see that it's very easy to finish this challenge, but what we're going to do is we're going to write a Python script to finish the challenge. Okay, but right. So people are finishing the challenge. It's not it's actually not a very difficult challenge, but we're going to write a Python script to finish this challenge. Okay, so inside of your web shell, what we're going to do is we're going to write a Python script. So we're going to do nano webpage underscore read.py. So after you do nano, so what we're going to do is we're going to use some code that I have over at the HackerFrogs notes. So we've got our notes over here, and I'll provide the link to the notes to everybody. So what we're going to do inside of this code is we're going to import the OS module. So importing means to grab code from another file. So we're going to import this this code called OS, and then in here we're going to create a variable called URL, which is some input. So the input is going to read which web page do you want to read, and we're just going to save that as the URL variable. And then we're going to run a command called curl. And curl is a Linux command which lets us download web pages. So we're going to create a variable called curl_command, which is equal to the f string curl, and then we use the URL variable over here. So we're going to create a function, because we were talking about creating functions today. We're going to create a function called read_webpage, and then the parameter is going to be curl_command. And then inside of that function, we're going to print this this function from the OS module, os.popen, and we're going to give it curl command as an argument. And then we're going to run the function .read like this. And then we're going to invoke the function, or call the function read web page with curl command as the argument. And that's going to let us download and read the web page. Okay? So in order to write this to our nano, what we can do is click this button right here, which is going to copy it. So just click on this, and it's going to say copied. And then we need to go over to the web shell. And in the web shell, we can paste this stuff in. So right click, paste, and then it should look just like this. So this code, we don't need to do anything to this code. We just need to paste it in. And then we're going to save this. So it's going to be Control X, save modified buffer yes, Y for yes, and then file to write, press enter. And now inside of our directory, we should have webpage_read.py. So all we need to do is use Python with this. So Python webpage_read.py. So we're going to run this, and then we're going to get the prompt, which web page do you want to read? So we can get this web page from the Python challenge. So sorry, from the picoctf challenge. We go back to the picoctf challenge. What we need to do is we need to click on this button, launch instance, to launch the web page, to create the web page that we're supposed to read. So launching challenge instance, just wait for 1 or 2 seconds, and then you should see the link for the website. So just right click on that, copy the link address, and then go back to the web shell. So in the web shell, we can paste in the web page address like this, and then press enter. And this is going to download the the file for the web page. Okay. So user LC says, does this work for every website? This should work for every website. What it's going to do, it's just going to download the web page and then print it out. So if you wanted to get google.com, you could probably get google.com using this as well. It's not this is actually pretty, it's not super complicated stuff. So you see that you see inside of the web page that we downloaded, there's this information about this historical stuff over here, but there's also a flag. So the flag over here is located inside of some HTML comments, which means if you just load up the page, you're not going to be able to see this. So user CT says, how did you get the file? How did we get the file? So there's a program inside of Linux called curl, and curl lets you download and curl lets you retrieve the contents of web pages. So inside of the Python script, we just gave the curl command, and then we were able to use the curl command and then supply the address of the web page, and then it downloaded it. So we've got the flag. So we just need to highlight the flag up until the ending curly brace over here, and then copy it. Then go back to the PicoCTF challenge page, and in the flag submission field, paste it in, and click on Submit Flag. Okay. All right. So everybody, if you managed to use the Python script to get the flag, please type in the chat Python function. All right, glad to hear, glad to hear. Okay, so let's do a little review before we finish out the session, okay? So let's review the programming concepts we learned in this workshop. So functions. Functions are defined blocks of code that can be executed multiple times in the same program. Executing a function is usually referred to as calling a function or a function call. So in the next HackerFrogs After School Programming Workshop, we're going to learn about classes and objects. So we've already talked a little bit about classes and objects. We talked about integers and strings and floats. Those are different types of classes inside of Python. And each one of these, each instance of one of these classes is called an object. We're going to talk about this in the next session, okay? So everybody, if you need more help with any of the challenges or any of the concepts that we talked about today, please stick around after the session, and I'll try to address your problems individually. Or if you have any questions that you want to ask about any of the stuff that we're talking about today, you can go ahead and stick around after the session is over. But we're going to be finishing out today's session, and the last session for this week is going to be on Friday. And on Friday, it's going to be at the same time. It's going to be at the same time, and I hope to see you there. Otherwise, if you don't have any questions, and you can go ahead and feel free to leave the call. But thank you very much to everybody for coming today, and we'll see you on Friday, okay? All right, so I'm going to stop the recording over